That is the biggest win I've seen so far in this trailer. First off, great choice. I don't think that there was a more marketable player last season than Matthew Tkachuk. Had they not had the Four Nations, I don't think Matthew Tkachuk gets the cover. I think what he was able to do, taking that opportunity, even though they didn't win, taking that opportunity and running with it, I think Matthew Tkachuk on the cover is a great choice. I hate the decentralized draft. I would rather see the bingo hall setup that they have here. Like, this looks like it's just in a conference room. And I would prefer this if the GMs were there, rather than that BS we got back in June that they're gonna do again for another season. Like I said, that did not a lot for me because it was all cinematic. No point getting too excited. Love the idea, like I said, love the idea of Matthew Tkachuk on the cover. Call me old school again, but I miss the days of like the actual award ceremony where everybody's in the crowd, not these like Hollywood production videos. I'd rather have them back in the crowd and the winner is and the envelope and the person come up and give their speech. I'd rather go back to that. But there was a time where at the awards, the year where PK Subban was announced as the athlete, that one stands out as he was announced at the NHL Awards as the next cover athlete. The addition of NHL Edge is a pro and a con at the same time. The pro is you actually get real-world stats in the game. The negative to this is, how can you expect us at day one to have an inferior player based on his NHL Edge stats? Or how can you expect a Brady Tkachuk to skate as fast as any Connor McDavid card if you're going to add real-world stats? You're now introducing an argument every time a player is introduced or an 85 gets bumped up to an 87. I don't care that it's going to pop up on screen that your shot was on average or above average or below average or whatever, but the idea of adding NHL Edge to this game ruins the fantasy of a 99 Chara, basically. Yet we can't have a puck that knows when it's crossed the line or not. We have all of these, but we can't have a puck that knows whether it's fully crossed a line or not. Don't get me wrong, too. I love the science and math of sports.
In NHL,
I like that you have the technology, you have the stats, you have the metrics, you have all the data to prove somebody shoots harder, somebody shoots more accurate, somebody skates faster, somebody's got more acceleration, but somebody's got a better top. Ovechkin has to be in his spot, I get, but who asked for that? Who is the nerd who emailed EA Sports and was like, my Ovechkin is not at the circle on the power play. He's always at the circle on the power play. Can you make sure he goes to the circle on the power play for the one-timer? The only way I see this really kind of making sense is if they take the Team of the Year concept, where if somebody has a higher skating number than Connor McDavid, Connor McDavid's skating gets bumped up. This is a huge boost for franchise. I could see that being where this benefits the most. Where this doesn't benefit is in Hut. I don't see why there's any advantage of this in Ishel. And I'm a franchise guy, but I feel like they're really, really reaching here, adding this into the game. Because Hut eliminates Edge. Franchise? Yeah. The differentiating stats and personalities and gameplay and everything like that? Yeah. I like it. I like it for franchise. It doesn't apply. This should not apply to every mode in the game. We've improved the in-between gameplay animations. Is not a phrase you should be hanging your hat on. When is the last time that we've got a generational shift in the NHL franchise? Like 18-19, 18 for sure does not feel like 25. But 23 feels like 25. 22, 21 feels like 25. They've just basically put another layer of paint on it. I think that's where my negativity with all of this comes from, is they are making changes and improving and touting said improvements. Was it the Frostbite engine? Which was 21, 22, somewhere around there, right? I think what I'm looking for personally is that shift. I don't care about the replays. I don't care about seeing how fast a player skated. What I care about is when you make a pass and you're holding right on the stick, that it doesn't have to be pinpoint accurate to an extent. Should it be? Sure. It should be as close as possible. But if I'm moving my stick to the right, the pass shouldn't go straight, or especially if there's an open player. Like, the IQ of the player should be there. There's nobody in the NHL that would see an open player. Okay, there might be a few players that would see an open player and still just rocket it. This is just a layer of paint, as far as I'm concerned. And I am strictly speaking Hut, because I think, from my understanding, Hut is not the bread and butter that everybody makes it out to be. Franchise definitely isn't, but I don't think any of this, other than the replays, which I don't think anybody needs. Could I see a benefit in Eschel? I could see a benefit in Eschel where if your guy is getting beat to the puck and that guy is showing like I was going to say 90 miles per hour, like a 20 mile per hour skate, then you would make adjustments to your player to try and speed up, right? So I can see some Eschel benefits there. All of this has just been a layer of paint on something that they really need to focus on restructuring the game, the bones. If there is now an explanation as to why something happened, so Shesterkin sliding over and making that save, and if that indicator post to post pops up, that is the biggest win I've seen so far in this trailer, in this deep dive. If that indicator pops up on an amazing save like that and it explains this is why that save happened, this is why that animation happened, I think that's a huge win. Where in the past, saves like that would happen just because, and you had no explanation. Also, I just noticed that the Washington Capitals have got 30 shots on net and the New York Rangers only have 3 halfway through the second, which checks out. That's logical. It also, by the way, it also popped up on the other players after I mentioned, like I did see a big tipper there. I saw a refresher. I like if something impactful happens that pops up. I don't want to see it all the time. Real emotion in a AI situation is hilarious to me. We want the goalies to actually show that they're very disappointed they let a shot in. Who asked for that? My goalie's just not angry enough after he lets in 10 goals in squad battles. Also, the fact that the rumor is they're getting rid of squad battles, that's a big L. Okay, you're not going to please everybody, and when you make a change that benefits one side, let's call it 50-50, even though it's not. 50-50. Some like the new goalie animations, some hate them, right? The ones that like it are not going to be the vocal majority. The ones that hate it will be. Therefore, you're not wrong. And they might nerf it, they might change it. x.com/crash_Andrews, by the way. 7 away from 1,300. Also, we're selling jerseys. There's a thread there. A lot of the jerseys behind me are being sold. It shouldn't be a hot take, but when a change is made that the vocal majority wanted, the vocal majority changes. It doesn't mean it's wrong or right. It just means you hear from a different segment of people, which usually means continued negativity. In the words of Phil Brooks, stop me when I'm telling lies. Nobody wants to lose their spot, even if they're the 37,476th best player in Hut. Nobody wants to lose their spot. Nobody wants to lose their spot, therefore they'll be the part of the vocal majority. And the people who like the change, there's still people who will say they like it, but the people who hate it are always louder. And then when you make the change, the vocal majority changes. And then when you make a change, the vocal majority changes. And when you make a change, vocal majority changes. GZ, again, respectfully, I know that you're kind of new to my content-ish. I believe my biggest complaint about NHL has always been that the game is not as broken as its community. I'm not saying that it's not just me. I'm not the bastion here. But what I'm saying is I've complained less about this game than I have about the community. Eliminate all the racism and sexism. It's always the vocal majority that wins, and the vocal majority changes once that wins when it happens. The game is not as broken. The game has never been as broken as its community.
Has 3 tiers of impact.
But I think that's how you get the NHL edge figured out, I think. But I like how the pop-ups show up to say, hey, this happened because this player's got this X factor. They won't do it, but I believe that a 2-year cycle would benefit NHL and sports games. A 2-year cycle with a roster download, even if you charge us $10 for the roster update. Just don't charge us $80 or $100 every year just to get new cards. But if all you're going to do is just put another layer of paint on it, I would rather have the same structure as 25 with this layer of paint and not be charged $80, $90, upwards to $130, depending on what version of the game you're gonna get. Canadian, by the way, which is like 75 cents American. To me, that's the change. That's the change that needs to happen. Is we don't need annual games anymore. We just need annual rosters or annual updates. But in that, it's like selling us a brand new house when all we want to do is change the colors of paint on the wall or new cabinets. NHL doesn't make enough money. I know you know that, and I know that that's always going to be the argument. But if the same team that is working on NHL is working on UFC, both games will predominantly suck. Last time somebody disrupted the scene, when this game came out, I want to say it was $29.99 Canadian, when Madden was still like $70 to $80. This game was far superior than Madden 2005. This game was more enjoyable than Madden 2005. Without this, I believe 2K could not continue in the NHL directory either, because this made the most money, even at $30. And then EA went and got exclusive rights. And everybody bought both games, by the way. It wasn't Xbox versus PlayStation. If you had the original Xbox, you had the EA NHL game, and you had the 2K NHL game. Now, this was before credit cards were allowed to be entered into video games, which is another one of the other biggest things I hate about where video games has gone. You didn't pick between one or the other. You bought both. But once credit cards started being entered into video games and all of that stuff, you pretty much had to make a choice, because there's no way that you're putting your credit card into both. That you probably are, depending on who you are. The major money-making happened was the purchase of the game. We bought both games. When WCW and WWF at the time were producing N64 games, we bought both. When they were producing PlayStation games, we bought both. It's only the idea of microtransactions and adding more money into the game after you bought the game that is limited what you do in-game. All right, Be a Pro Deep Dive. Here we go. Didn't they update Be a Pro like 3 years ago? Was it 21? Fair? It's time. Where did that come from, by the way? Pricey Pond Hockey. I don't play a lot of Be a Pro. Maybe I should. I don't know.
Hey, congrats on making the roster. This is a huge accomplishment. I'm Macklin Celebrini.
From a new World Juniors Trophy Ceremony sequence.
That sequence is not new. That is the animation of the Stanley Cup presentation, where the only difference is the trophy. Best part of the video. Best part of the video. The LA Kings winning the Stanley Cup. This will be, you know what's going to come out as soon as this game? 21st of August, 2025. I'm calling this right now. I don't know, I can't fake my cell phone, right? I want to show you. August 21st, 10 to 2 local time. Now having the actual dressing rooms of the NHL teams in this game, when this game comes out, we are going to rehash, because it happened a couple of years ago, like a year, 2 years ago, the narrative of the Calgary Flames having the worst dressing room in the NHL will be a constant narrative in the community, because they will be drafted to the Calgary Flames. They will see the Calgary Flames dressing room, which, admittedly, not great. It is not great. Comparatively to the Edmonton Oilers and the LA Kings, which we saw in the trailer, the Calgary Flames dressing room, bottom of the barrel. I bet that there will be a narrative when this game comes out where the Calgary Flames dressing room is absolutely trashed. We just found out the real reason they had to relocate the Arizona Coyotes. Yeah, because this was getting added to the game. Yeah, that checks out. The math checks out on that one. What I don't want to see in Be a Pro, and one of the reasons I don't really play Be a Pro, is the constant nagging by the coach in-game. The constant, hey, do you want to go to the museum? Hey, I'm Sidney Crosby. A bunch of the players and I are going to the museum. Would you like to come with? Or you buy an SUV and it changes your players' stats. I don't want that. That was one of the dumbest additions to Be a Pro. I like the interviews But to have your coach, I can't remember who said it on Twitter, and I'm sure it was many people, but the idea of like in Be a Pro, you score 8 goals and your coach is like, you really need to hustle out there, was just so like expected. The NHL having like an open world, like Grand Theft Auto. Okay, EA Sports, listen, here's how we're gonna fix Be a Pro. Make it like a mix of, what is it called? NBA 2K's The Park and Grand Theft Auto. I'm not talking about crime, but I'm talking about how you can do whatever you want any other time when you're not playing hockey. You can go and practice at any time. You can jump on the ice at any time at the practice facility. But have a running clock that you have to be at the game. Ice time is at like, you have to be at the arena by 4. Have it so that like if you're bored and you just want to get into the game, you go to the arena. Set it up like NBA. eShell and Be a Pro could be done that way. 100%. eShell is an esport, but the fact that they have ignored it, that EA and the NHL have ignored it, even in the fact that they've removed the GWC and not replaced it with an eShell or a Teams situation, is criminal. But the fact that it is an esport, LG exists and thrives. Rink Rivals is doing amazing stuff. What's Kenneth's overseas? Sport Gamer is thriving. Is it the hottest ticket in video games? No. Let's break the constraints on this. Let's open this up and not just go point by point by point. I think being able to go and buy new skates as a cosmetic, going out and being able to buy a new stick that might give you +1 to wrist shots because you take more wrist shots. I think that in Be a Player and to an extent eShell, I like the idea of like combining the two. I think that's where you win and Be a Player. So this is where I'm a little confused because I think Thrash has said that you don't actually start at the World Juniors. Also, he's officially partnered with Rogue Energy. Custom rosters and Be a Player confirmed. No PC. Get a whistle if you pre-order through EB Games. Is an additional, not a replace. Okay, so it's an additional. Also, he was not on vacation with Henry, even though he disappeared for a couple days. That's fine. The days of sitting through endless, repetitive small talk are over. We've replaced that with scenes and choices that matter, including branching conversations with your coach, impactful media scrums, pivotal moments in your career that change based on how you perform. Every interaction has a purpose, either moving your story forward or shaping how your player is seen in the hockey world. Okay, so that kind of eliminates what we've been talking about. Yeah, but you'd be in the juniors to start, unless you pick your junior team and then you start at the World Juniors and then go back to your juniors team. But the World Juniors are halfway through the season. So this is where, like, okay, now I need it in my hands. Now I need to actually see the progression. Before you step onto NHL ice, you'll put your country's colors and compete in the World Juniors. A clutch goal in the gold medal game could push you up the draft board world for performance. Get the draft. Okay. For the first time in years, you can now be sent down to the AHL for your play slips. I like that. I do like that you're not just locked to the fourth line and 5 minutes a time. Brand building decisions I don't like on paper. Should just be about how you play on the ice and your stats. Not your stats, your skating abilities and your speed and all of that stuff. Upgrading those. It's supposed to be World Juniors, then the Memorial Cup. So you don't actually play in, yeah, again, like this is why I don't get all that jacked up about. I'd rather, because you could pick to choose to play in the WHL or the CHL, or you couldn't choose to play European, right? Before they changed Be a Pro, you could do the entire junior career and then get sent down to the AHL. Fair. I like the addition that you can be named to the World Junior. I just don't think that it should be an automatic. I think you should play at least one. You know what? I'm going to slightly retract. I would like to play one season in junior. And if I'm good enough, I make the World Junior squad, which could then amplify my draft order, my draft standing. And then if my team is good enough, I make it to the Memorial Cup. But none of those should be guarantees. None of those should be absolutes. Should start a season and then get picked. Exactly. But also have like measurements of like, hey, Team Canada's looking at you. Hey, Team USA's looking at you. They want to see you score X amount of goals by this date or whatever. And even if you don't hit those metrics or whatever, you're still in consideration. You could still make the team. 2 games of World Juniors and that's it is lazy. I think the fact that it's called Be a Pro, I wouldn't want them Team Latvia for an easier path. Fair. Like the whole idea is making it to the NHL. So I don't want to play 7 World Junior games. I get the point, and you're not wrong, but the end goal is to make it to the NHL, but it should be, like when you set up the Be a Pro, I would argue that you should be able to choose whether you want a full season in juniors, you want a full World Juniors, you want a full Memorial Cup, or if you just want to play in the semifinals and finals and all of that, if you want a condensed version. Because there's going to be players who won't want to play juniors. There's going to be players who won't want to play a full season of juniors. There's going to be players who won't want to play World Juniors. They just want to go to the draft. That's fine. RNG it. But there's going to be players who want that in-depth. They want to go play for Frolandia, right? That give us the option to choose the path and how long that path should be. Yeah, they should have made it a little bit more clear what that path is, because the way that this trailer dictates eliminates Memorial Cup and juniors completely. It's World Juniors and then draft. But I would love to see a little bit more impact of the agent popping in every so often and saying, hey, listen, like, the team's not going to move you, just play out your contract. Hey, the team is interested in re-signing you at this amount. Let's wait another week and see what they come back with. I don't think, like, actually having a consistency of, the possibility of either staying with the team or leaving the team. I'd rather see that than how you're viewed in the community, like building your brand and Be a Pro, I think is useless. I think having your agent always talking to you about, hey, it sounds like they may trade you to San Jose, to be able to have a temper tantrum in the GM's office, or to have a sit down. Go to the agent and ask him, like, hey, can we sit down with the coach or the general manager and ask about playing time or a change of scenery or something like that. I think that would be huge in this game mode. And I know that it's prevalent in others, and I know it's been in there in the past and everything like that, but I think building your brand isn't as important as building your ice time, I think would be a bigger addition here. I feel like I spent more time talking about a mode that I don't play. First reactions, it looks like there's some interesting additions. It looks like there's a lot of useless changes that have no bearing or input or impact on how I'm going to play this game. I am going to get the game. I would get the game whether I'm in the humble brag in the creator network or not. But yeah, there's a lot of fluff. There wasn't a lot of steak to the sizzle. I think Be a Pro needed a complete change, and it looks like it may have done that. But again, we don't know until a couple weeks down the road, right? So I'm just excited for a new game, and I think that is what they're going to be providing. But I don't think that it's a generational change that I think I'm ready for. So